This is the Mendon Town Select Board meeting, calling the meeting to order at 5:30 p.m. Let's stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of
America, and
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with
liberty and justice for all.
I didn't know if that was my echo. Sorry, Carol. I would have tried to have that in unison. All right. Adding or deleting anything to the agenda? I have nothing to add or delete. Okay. Administrative matters, signing of orders. We've all had those sent to us before the meeting. I'd make a motion to approve the orders for 12/22/24 in the amount of $29,280.65 and payroll for the week of January 9th, 2024 in the amount of $14,547.87.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, 3 sets of minutes. All 3 of us for, let's go back to November. Just Seth and myself. Make a motion to approve the minutes for November 13th, 2023.
I second that.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and to December, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for 12/11/23.
I second that.
All in favor, say aye.
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 And Lisa, I believe it's just you and myself for January. No, it's all 3 of us. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for January 8th, 2024.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any announcements? I actually wanted to apologize for losing my cool at the last meeting. That's not who I want to be, so I apologize for that. Other than that, I don't have any other announcements.
I have an announcement. Should I? What do I do, Sarah? No? Yes?
Yeah, you can.
Okay. Today is my last select board meeting. I'm resigning from the board. I'd like to thank everyone that I served with. You guys have been awesome. And thank you very much.
Thank you for your letter.
Thanks, Lisa. You've been great. Sorry to hear that, but onward and upward, right? I feel for you.
I'd like to also say thank you, Lisa, for all your work. Thank you, Lisa Brooks.
Okay, up next we have public comment, 2 minutes per person. And I would also like to say under business, after we go through each line item, if you have a comment when I ask after, that's also limited to 2 minutes per person, please. But public comment is open. Are we moving on to business?
I don't have any hands raised for public comment.
We have the budget up first. Again, there were not many increases. We do have an increase in the town office and garage utilities to provide for high-speed internet. That was new since the last meeting. We have the 3% the COLA that we increased to the office staff. And I would like to add a line item to the staff budget in the amount of $5,000 for additional expenses that may be needed. I don't think that'll be used in full. There's a little wiggle room there, but I would like to put that in there. I think that's important.
I'm sorry, Val. I guess I just kind of confused. Which line item are you putting that with?
We are creating.
Oh, creating one. Okay.
We're
Okay.
creating a line item that may possibly be needed in a couple different areas. Since the last meeting, were there questions on the budget that was sent to you? The miscellaneous increase, no, that was the office utilities. So there was the town office utilities for the internet and garage utilities for the internet.
So if I could just recap some of the numbers for you guys, all the changes in the budget would require the warning to be updated to reflect the town collecting $1,192,300, or no, $300 as the amount to be collected by taxes. That number would be affected by that last $5,000 that we just discussed, and the appropriations are listed separately as articles on the town warning, which is typical.
Okay.
But the numbers that changed from the last meeting were the garage and town utilities based on the internet costs and the Rutland County tax.
Okay.
Are there any questions here?
I see Carol has her hand raised. I'm not sure.
Hi, I would like a detailed invoice on what the $5,000 is meant for that's being added to the budget. If you could try to explain that for us. Thank you.
Sure. There are additional expenses in the office just with the economy, and there are also the competitive salary increases maybe. Aside from the 3% COLA increase, Carol, I would like to take some time and sit down with the staff and evaluate and talk to them about their wages.
I would definitely be open to do that. If you could just email me, we could set up a time, and I would love to sit down with everybody and talk about it.
Any other question with the budget? All right, moving on to the town meeting warning. Did anyone have any questions here? Sarah, can you give me the exact number? I believe I read it. My printer's low on ink for article number 2.
Article number 2 would be 1,197,300.
Okay, that's what you just wrote or said. Thank you.
Is that an updated number from what we got earlier today on Article 2?
That is correct.
Can
Yep.
you repeat
So
it again?
the other one, it's $1,197,000 or 97,300.
Okay.
The one that was printed in the warning, the draft warning that I sent to you was last year's number. So that just needed to be updated once you finalize the budget. The other articles 3 through 9 would be our appropriation articles, which have remained unchanged since last year. And then to elect officers would be the town moderator, a select board member for a 3-year term, and a select board member for a 1-year term. And then the warning needs to be signed by the select board and posted not more than 40 days, not less than 30 days prior to town meeting. That would also be distributed in the mailing to all the registered voters. As far as the location for town meeting, VTrans has accepted our request to hold the meeting at the VTrans building at 61 Valley View, the same location as last year. And that would be dated March 5th. Monday, March 4th at 6 p.m. And then the meeting adjourns until town meeting day, which is March 5th, where voting will take place at the town office.
And that meeting is not televised. It's an in-person only meeting, correct?
Correct.
Any questions? Okay, letter C under business. A request for redetermination of the coefficient of dispersion, which is 20.37%. Do you want me to read through this? Were there any questions on the printout? Are we waiting for any information from Spencer, or was that
So-
finalized?
Yep, so Spencer did reach out to Property Valuation and Review and reviewed the condo sales that seem to have been greatly affecting the calculation of the coefficient of dispersion and what has triggered the COD to go above 20%. The concern there is that once it goes over 20%, it requires, or it will trigger a reappraisal for the entire town. Spencer reached out because there were no specific sales that he could have had an argument to remove them from the sales data. So he wanted to find out from Property Valuation and Review whether you could do a statistical reappraisal of just the condo sales, because that's what has changed since our reappraisal. But the answer from PVR was no. Once the town is required to do a reappraisal based on the 20% COD, that it would require a reappraisal townwide. So this is disheartening news because we just completed the reappraisal in 2021. It is a 2-year process. It takes about 2 to 3 years to get on and under contract from an approved certified firm with the state of Vermont. They only have a handful of firms that can do our reappraisals. So we have not received that order yet, but it is based on the CLA and the COD numbers. And with that COD coming in over 20%, it's going to trigger a townwide reappraisal.
And as far, just question, time frame for the appraisal to take place, what do you think, 6 months, a year?
No,
Before
it will,
starts?
so once we receive the order from the state, we'll go out to bid. We'll create an RFP, go out to bid. There's only specific contractors that we can go to bid with because they have to be certified and approved by the state of Vermont. Once we receive those bids, we'll go under contract with them, and they're booking out 2 to 3 years. So we're required to go through that process, but it most likely will be the grand list of like 2026 or 2027.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any questions?
No, again, the important reason to evaluate this and look at those numbers was that we had 35 days from the date of the letter to submit an appeal for a recalculation of our COD. But our assessor has looked at the sales data that they base it on, and we don't have an argumentative case.
Any questions here? That's a lot of work. Moving on to business. Letter D, goals and objectives.
So Val requested that we put this on the agenda. It's been about 6 months since we've reviewed the goals and objectives for fiscal year 24. I didn't know if anyone had any questions on particular projects or where we stand. I'm just pulling it up right now. I apologize. On what we've completed and what we still have left to do.
Well, I think one of the, I don't know if ARPA is on that.
Yes.
If everyone remembers that that needs to be finalized this year as to where.
All the funds need to be obligated by the end of 2024 and then spent by the end of 2026. I will send out between now and the next meeting too a updated list of where we stand with ARPA. I don't know when the last time you received that from Nancy.
No, we usually work on that together. I haven't. I don't think it's changed, honestly.
So I just brought up.
Visualization was the last time we dipped into
I
that.
just brought up our goals and objectives, and I'm just going to briefly go down through and highlight some areas that we've either completed or are still working on. The number one priority was to replace the highway department with 3 full-time positions. We've hired 2 full-time positions of road commissioner and highway maintenance and equipment operator. We still have 1 full-time position to fill, which the goal is to fill that position before April of this year. We, at the time of creating this, we had the zoning administrator position available. Since then, we've appointed a zoning administrator and then its replacement. So Steve Elrin is currently in that position. We, as part of the hiring process, we have a policy of requiring medical cards and a workman's comp arrangement with the local provider to send any employees that have workman comp claims to an approved doctor on our behalf. We send them. To work on the municipal roads general permit, we have a lot of requirements under that municipal roads general permit. Both Chris and Thane are being trained on updating our inventories and responding to the necessary work under that general permit, identifying what projects we have to complete this summer. There are compliance deadlines that we've had to upgrade a minimum number of road segments. There was a deadline by the end of 2023 and then again in 2025. So they've met with the Regional Planning Commission to work through where we stand with those compliance deadlines and how to complete them. Road reclassification. This is a project that is still pending, of reclassifying some of the roads in Mendon from class 3 roads to legal trails, or vice versa, legal trails to class 4 roads, and that we will be working on this summer. Complete streets for the Notch Road. Notch Road, we will be applying for the class 2 roadway grant this spring and hopefully resurfacing that road in accordance to our schedule. They need to meet the complete street guidelines, and so Chris and Thane will be starting. They have not been trained on those to date, but we'll be working on that. Infrastructure projects, engineered projects would be an embankment failure on the Falls Road. The intersection of Helvey Hill and Sherwood still has some drainage issues that come out onto Sherwood Drive. And then we go into paving bids. So pretty much our infrastructure projects are replacing culverts on roads that we're going to be resurfacing. Paving bids will need to go out in April of 2020. They'll go out in March, hopefully under contract by April of 2024 for paving projects this summer. Town policies, we continue to update policies. Right now, we're working on some of the highway department policies with lockout, tagout, hazardous communication, and the personal protective equipment policy. Town ordinances, we kind of started working on the burn permit ordinance and the false alarm ordinance. Both are in draft form for any updates, and we should be getting back on those projects.
Sarah, can I interrupt you, please?
Yes,
And
of course.
under the ordinance, I would like to add to that the water. I would like to go over water issues.
So that, okay. Some of the water is discussed in our zoning regulations, and the zoning regulations just received a planning grant with the municipal planning grant. So the planning commission will be looking at our zoning regulations and updating them this coming year. But I will add that onto our.
Should I reach out to them, or how does that work?
How does that process work?
Just to make sure they look at that one specifically.
Yeah, certainly the select board can send a letter to them saying that we want to make sure that you're looking at these sections of the zoning. It's better to head it off from the beginning. The process for changing zoning is they will work for the next year with the Regional Planning Commission on updating different sections. And then once they have to follow public hearing processes and warning requirements. Once they adopt it, they turn it over to the select board. The select board also has public hearing requirements and posting requirements in order to have it approved. Once the select board adopts it, it goes into effect, I believe, in 65 days, but I don't have that timeline in front of me. But there is a way for the town to petition for a town vote.
Okay.
So if a petition is received within 45 days, I believe, it'll go to town vote. But that whole process will be laid out with the warning requirements of the public hearings.
Val, I can help you out with that too if you'd like. There's a few specifics that I'd like to have looked at as well.
Yeah, and I know I personally can't change anything because I don't have the expertise. So it's good to know. That's where we start.
Yep.
So the only other thing that came off of the list or was moved down to the bottom of the list. So going down through, the Rolston Rest project has been closed. That is a section of land that it was owned by the state, which was being turned over to the Green Mountain National Forest. The local emergency management plan and the Barstow shelter, that is updated annually, and Leamy Carter is the director of emergency management that will be updating that and presenting it to the select board for adoption before May 1st. The Otter Creek Communication Union District, this is an ongoing thing. We have representatives on their committee, which is Larry Crisell, and they're currently actively building out fiber optic networks in order to make sure that every structure in Mendon has access to high-speed internet. The ARPA funds, like we discussed earlier, obligation for funds needs to occur by the end of 2024 and spent by 2026. We have most of the funds delegated or obligated to certain projects, but there's a remainder of, I think, about $100,000 to, and we have our list of projects that include upwards of $800,000. So we have more than more projects than funding available. Town office projects. We certainly can add additional projects that are underway or being considered for the town office. We talked previously about removing the central air conditioning once we put in the heat pumps, and there needs to be some repairs to the sidewalk that is cracked. We are also looking at security improvements to the town office. The community center was mainly a active discussion last year. It has kind of died down for consideration in the last 6 to 8 months. So I'm not sure where we stand on the community center. At the last town meeting, though, the townspeople did approve a reserve fund in order to save. They put $10,000 into a reserve fund to look at different community center sites. Grants have been extremely active this year. We still currently have about 11 grant projects that are underway. This is the season for applications, so applications will also be rolling out here in the spring routinely. And that's it.
Beth, did you have anything that I might not remembering to add to that?
Well, there's a couple of things just on a couple of the ARPA projects that we had spoken about. I don't want to get in too deep because it's not really on the agenda at the moment, but just some things that have come to mind recently were, did we ever get anywhere on the cover for the fuel tanks at the town garage? And more importantly, I'd spoke with Kurt after we had lost power there, and they were on the generator and whatnot, but I've recently been staying real close and across the street here, and there is households that are even closer to the town garage, and I think we should really push towards the generator at the town garage. That it's just very, when the power's out for a day, 2 days into that time frame, it's just very loud the way that generator that's running is. And it just, in my mind, it's kind of, I guess, not inconsiderate, but just disregarding the folks who are around them. And I haven't heard any complaints, don't get me wrong there. It's just something as a select board member that I noticed myself.
Yep.
And then the importance of it too, like, you know, I think it's real important for those guys to show up in the morning. You know, it's horrible weather as it is. They have to get out of their own households, show up here at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning to an unplowed driveway. And if the power's out, they have to set up their generator, get it running. You know, it just something more permanent, like we had spoken about, that automatically turns on, keeps things going without them having to, you know, go away from their actual stressful job that they already have going on.
So this is, the generator at the garage has already been identified as a project that we should move forward with.
Okay.
There were a couple folds. So, well, let me do the tank first. So yes, we are still designing what type of structure should go over that in order to drop the snow slanted towards the back and get a quote on it.
Okay.
Bill started working on that, but then once he left, I have discussed it with Chris, and he'll be moving forward with figuring out the structure on that, because those funds have been obligated in the ARPA funding already. The
Right.
generator, just last week I was communicating with Chris and Leamy Carter, because there's the Homeland Security grants are now published and accepting applications. That is the grant that helped pay for 50% of the generator at the town office. And
Yep.
because the garage is the secondary incident command center location, if we don't have the town office available, it may qualify for applying for that grant. So we'll be moving forward with that application.
Okay.
In which case we wouldn't have to spend we would get 50% funding for it and wouldn't have to spend as much out of the ARPA funds or the garage maintenance fund.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Yeah, absolutely. That's good. Yeah, there's just those couple of things that were on my mind recently. And then Val, I think, did we address the shoveling at the town office without going too far with that?
Well, I did talk to Thane, and he said that he was just going to shovel it when the town opened.
Okay. Okay. Just wanted to make
because
sure.
he has to go inside and get the shovel.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It's
That's
just
it for me.
important there that it's shoveled out before we're open to the public. Or the
Well, right. Yeah. I just want to make sure that we're not waiting on that to be done, or there's no misunderstanding. So sounds like we got that all together.
So that's all I had. Did you have anything else?
I do not.
I'm all good.
I'm just making notes here.
No,
I was gonna raise my hand
no,
and say thank you, Lisa Brooks.
no, you can. You turn on your mic, say thank you. You already did. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gates, for thanking me.
All right, we can adjourn this meeting at 6:11 p.m.